Hello, today we are going to follow the tutorial from the wiki page community.kde.org/getinvolved/development/developing in a virtual machine. We're going to install on my hardware machine, which runs Ubuntu 22.10 Oracle VM VirtualBox. And then we're going to create a virtual machine using the Linux distribution KDE Neon Developer Edition. And then we're going to set up kdesrc-build and build all of the KDE 5 frameworks. So let's get started. How do we get to this wiki page? We start from kde.org, which is the website of the KDE project. We go develop, where are you? Get involved, development, and then we search for virtual. And says that you should be using a Linux distribution when you start contributing to the KDE community, and when you start learning how to build KDE software using kdesrc-build, and your Linux distribution should have up-to-date packages of Qt framework and other dependencies, other packages on which the KDE Git repositories depend. So we need fresh versions for Qt and other libraries and distribution packages. Okay, so we do that by using a rolling distribution, so a distribution that's always up to date if you install the latest updates, such as Arch and its derivatives, so Manjaro and EndeavourOS, etc. Or you use OpenSUSE Tumbleweed, which is the same thing, it's a rolling release Linux distribution. Or if you're on the latest Ubuntu, or on the latest Fedora, or on the latest KDE Neon. Okay, if your distribution doesn't have such recent packages, or you're on Windows, on macOS, again on older Linux distributions such as Debian Stable, Ubuntu 22.04 or earlier, then it's better to just use a virtual machine. So create a beefy virtual machine. I recommend you use Virt Manager and QEMU, but you could also use VirtualBox. If you're on Windows or on macOS, you're forced to use VirtualBox or the native virtualization software, so Hyper-V on macOS and whatever is the equivalent in macOS, so on Windows Hyper-V. Okay, so let's pretend that our Linux distribution is not new enough, we're on macOS or we're on Windows. Then we need to use a virtual machine when setting up kdesrc-build for the first time and when we're trying to learn kdesrc-build. Okay, so this is the tutorial that we're going to follow. And it suggests that we use Oracle VM VirtualBox. It's probably suggested because it's the easiest for new people to use, and is cross-platform because it runs on Windows, macOS, and Linux. Okay, so we need to make this differentiation between the guest OS and the host OS. So the host OS is the operating system that runs on my hardware. So in this case is Ubuntu 22.10. Guest OS is the operating system that runs inside of the VirtualBox virtual machine. So it's going to be KDE Neon Developer Edition. Okay. For that, we want to use the most of the technologies related to virtualization that are available in our motherboard, CPU, etc. So for that, we need to enter the UEFI, in my case, UEFI, or firmware, or BIOS, or there's equivalent technologies for if you're not on x86-64. Okay, because we don't want to use para-virtualization, we want to use hypervisor VMs, so the speediest VMs possible. Virtual machines, VM being the shortcut for virtual machine. Okay, so we're on Kubuntu. Let's install VirtualBox. Stack console, which is a terminal. I will sudo soon become a super user. And now let's see what apt install VirtualBox would do. Paste. Let's put a -s to simulate this thing. So it's going to want to install DHDKMS, DKMS, libgsopt, liblz, f1, VirtualBox DKMS, which is the kernel module for VirtualBox, and VirtualBox Qt being the Qt framework, graphical user interface version of the VirtualBox. So it looks okay. Let's do that. Okay, so suggested packages, VirtualBox. What does it do? Building. Modules. Again, I recommend you use Virtual Manager, which is this thing. Virtual Machine Manager, which is QEMU. This way you don't need to use DKMS, you don't need to compile additional Linux kernel modules that are not upstream in the Linux kernel Git repository, which will need to be rebuilt each time you update your Linux kernel version. So why would you why would you bother to use VirtualBox when QEMU Virtual Machine Manager is available out of the box and doesn't use out of 3 kernel drivers? Okay, kernel modules. So I finished installing. I can exit super user shell. I'm back at my standard shell. And it says launch it. So I saw it in here, VirtualBox. Okay. Let's see. So we should download the latest KDE Neon Developer Edition ISO. Let's put it in the today's directory. Okay, so it's 2.5 gigabytes. I'm on 20 megabytes per second. On 10 megabytes per second, that means 80 megabits per second. That's less than 100 megabits per second. Okay, so while we wait, let's see what we can do meanwhile. So this is the Oracle VM VirtualBox Manager, which is this application. I just type Virt and I click on it. PC virtualization solution. From Oracle Corporation. Uses the same Qt version that my KDE Plasma Desktop uses. Okay, let me see if I need to install the what was the name for the thing? So it says suggested packages, dep tags, menu, VDE3, VirtualBox, guest editions, ISO. Let's try this. Let's install it. Okay, so the ISO for KDE Neon is half downloaded. Okay, so we should press this new button in the toolbar, or file or machine new in the Oracle VM VirtualBox main menu. Okay, we'll be back in a second. Okay, so the ISO finished downloading. So let's do the next steps. Click the new button on the toolbar. Name KDE dev VM. Okay. Linux. Ubuntu 64-bit. Next. So for memory, I have 32 gigabytes of RAM. And since this is going to be a virtual machine that we're going to use for development, for programming for KDE, we're going to make it as BV as possible. So we're going to go with at least 10 gigabytes of RAM. We're going to create a virtual hard disk, which is backed by NVMe PCIe 3, which is fast. Keep the default dynamically allocated, so just defaults. And then we need a ton of space because we're going to build many KDE Git repositories. So I'm going to say 200 gigabytes because I have a 2 terabyte NVMe. Okay. Create. And now we're going to click the start button in the toolbar because the KDE dev VM in the left hand side tree is already selected. So we can just press the start button. Okay. Tells me that I don't have an ISO. I need to press this selection button. Optical disk selector, add. Q4. Today, the file. Choose. Okay. Start. The virtual machine reports that the guest OS supports mouse pointer integration. Auto capture keyboard. So the OS will boot up, which is the installer. So the ISO is used as a DVD in the virtual machine, and it boots in the live CD environment where I can install the virtual machine. Launch the installer, so this thing, install system. Next. New York, okay, next. English US, next. So I want to use the entire disk. It's going to create a swap partition, which is not okay. You should use a swap file. But that's what it is. Okay. The type of partition table. something editable in here. Okay, so we keep defaults. I just selected erase disks, the first option in these two radio buttons. The rest is automatic, and in here it says to pick any name, is for example dev. So let's go with dev. We're going to name this thing the same as the virtual machine, so KDE dev VM. Yes. We'll need a password. We'll use a weak one because it's a virtual machine. Log in automatically without asking for the password. Not really. Install. Okay, so it created the partitions, two partitions, one for all of the files and one for the swap. It has created the partition table, either BIOS MBR or UEFI GPT. And then it's unpacking an archive file, so a zip file. Once they're done, okay, let's look at the settings of the virtual machine. So name Linux Ubuntu, advanced nothing, description nothing, disk encryption nothing. Motherboard, it still has a floppy, we should have disabled this. The newest motherboard, USB tablet, such that we don't need the virtual machine to grab the mouse, and then we need to press right control to free the mouse, such that you can exit with your mouse pointer from the virtual machine display. Okay, it doesn't use EFI, yes, so virtual machines should for now use BIOS, not UEFI. Hardware clock UTC, enable IO API-C, works okay. It only allocated one CPU out of my 16, so I should go with 15 at least. It uses the default hardware virtualization. This is defaults. This is ID, not SATA. This is SATA. I know, doesn't it know NVMe? Audio defaults, network not. And the rest I've never ever edited. So I've never edited user interface, shared folders, USB or serial ports. Okay. Removing 3 packages. So it uses KVM as the engine for virtualization. I have hardware virtualization enabled in my CPU, which is AMD, AMD-V. Okay, all done, restart now. I go done. Please remove the installation medium, so that's devices, optical devices, nothing really exists in here. So let's just press enter. How can we make it not show this this notification bar? Okay, so the resolution is wrong. Okay, it says after the OS has been installed, reboot the guest OS. I've done that. Then install some extra drivers and such from the guest editions CD image. Yeah, an extra hassle to do. So what's that? Devices, insert guest editions CD image. Okay. Says open in file manager. Okay, it says F4 inside of Dolphin. It says, what's the name of the file? Let's make things smaller. More, show menu bar, view. No main menu for me. Okay, view mode, details, and zoom. Okay, so what files are in here? VBox additions, Linux additions.run. Okay, so this command line probably is going to be okay. Copy paste doesn't work. Password for dev being the user. That's not a super user, but can become super user because it has sudo rights. Okay, and now it requires that I reboot the machine. It says that the kernel modules will be efficient after I reboot the virtual machine. Start the guest OS again. Once it starts up, you're ready to do your development in a VM. So let's do that. Let's see if restart works from here. Okay. Okay, let's close Dolphin. So resizing the virtual machine will also resize. So resizing Oracle VM VirtualBox, the virtualization software's graphical user interface, also resizes the desktop, changes the resolution in the virtual machine, which is a good thing to have. I'm not sure this status bar is that useful. Can we hide it? Okay. Now let's start doing the rest of the steps. So it says do your development in a VM. Let's start Firefox. And we're waiting for Firefox to start, or not. Let's pin the terminal in here. Oh, what happened? Okay, let's start Firefox. Firefox snap to be installed. Please install it with snap install Firefox. Okay, let's not do that. We need a web browser. Let's go with the one that's available from KDE. What was the name? Falcon. Okay, let's create a new tab. Let's hide the toolbar in console. And the virtual machine is not really usable because it doesn't have context menus working. Okay. Firefox. Download. This thing, yes. Save. This is the home directory. Let's create a directory here. .20, which is to this date. Save. Let's read the instructions. Install Firefox on Linux. ROM Mozilla builds for advanced users. Yes, not a problem. Required libraries. Seems to be okay. And now let's do the procedure. So I did not background this web browser Falcon, so let's do that. Ctrl Z, bg. Let's change to this directory. I need to be a super user. I need to extract the file. Okay, so let's maximize the virtual machine. Let's dock the Windows. So work the terminal is on the right hand side and dock Falcon the web browser is on the left hand side. We've downloaded a tar.bz2 file from Mozilla Firefox, so the official binaries for the Linux x86-64 platform. We've extracted that into the local directory. Let's install some minimal software. I'm not sure if I did apt update yet to have the latest metadata of packages from the repositories. I should do that. Okay, so apt update and then apt upgrade and then apt auto remove. So there's a Mozilla team PPA Ubuntu. Jammy release. On KDE Neon you should use package con update to install updates. How are we going to install these things? Firefox. It's the snap version. Okay, let's not go there. So let's continue where we were. So we've extracted. Now let's look at the files. So it's the tarbz2 archive extracted in the directory Firefox. Now we're going to do what it says here. So move the entire directory Firefox to the /op directory. Okay, create a symlink. And get a desktop file, which is mega incomplete. No context menu. So I'm going to middle click. Okay. Let's see Firefox now. Which Firefox is this one? So should not say Ubuntu in here. Okay, it's the official one. Let me restart, maybe the context menus will start working. Okay, so we were on the page where it says how to configure a VirtualBox virtual machine, and then it took us to the page where we learn how to set up kdesrc-build. So let's do that. Okay, we don't need Falcon anymore. A bit of cleanup. Make it the default, yes. Let's even remove Falcon. Okay. Next. View. I don't want a toolbar. Okay. I have two tabs open in console. One with my user, which is dev, and the one where I'm a super user for installing packages and other management. Okay, let's open a private window. Let's configure Firefox first. Customize toolbar, no, 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 no. Done. Private window. Let's change the edges. %25 is too much, so 15 is more than enough. Let's not do anything. Okay. So kd.org. Get involved. Development. So let's do setting up kdesrc-build. Okay, so I went via the path where I install in a virtual machine, so on this branch. And then it says set up your environment. I'm on KDE Neon, so I need to run this thing. Let's run it in the tab where I'm already super user. Ctrl-Shift-V. So dialog was missing. Dialog is not really needed in our case, but that's it. Configure Git. Where are you? I need to not be super user. So paste. Ctrl-L. Okay, setup kdesrc-build. These 3 lines. Really hard to copy. Copy, paste. Okay, so what it did, it created a directory tilde/kde/src, changed to it. Then it git cloned kdesrc-build, and then it changed to the directory where we git cloned. So now we're on the directory where kdesrc-build was git cloned. We can see that like this, like this. Okay. Let's run the initial setup, which will install many deb packages. And the password. Okay. So what does it actually install? It installs packages which are not from the originating from the KDE Git repositories. So that means Qt and many other dependencies to Qt and KDE, such as image codecs, audio codecs, video codecs, Xorg server libraries. What else? SSL libraries, crypto libraries, compression libraries, hardware acceleration libraries. Update your bash RC, yes. And let's actually not run source bash RC, but actually open a new tab in console, Ctrl-Shift-D. And now we check that bash RC was edited correctly and bash RC is included correctly. Okay, so the environment variable path used to be like this, but kdesrc-build initial setup has edited .bashrc, and now it has prepended to the environment variable path this directory where the KDE Git repository kdesrc-build was git cloned. And since this KDE Git repository uses the programming language Perl, nothing needs to be compiled, can be run as is. So just git clone and run straight from this directory. Okay. So we should not run kdesrc-build without arguments because that will build 200 modules. Okay. Additional and advanced ways of using kdesrc-build, but we know how to use kdesrc-build. We're not going to use a Qt that we download from the Qt framework official website. We're not going to build Qt using kdesrc-build. We're going to use Qt from the distribution, which is KDE Neon. So this chapter should be ignored. What about this indexing? Let's see. We want the maximum speed possible, and since I don't use file search, I can just disable it. Okay, and then it says download non-KDE dependencies, and I should read this page. Okay, let's do that. KDE Neon. If some package does not build, a KDE Git repository cannot be built using kdesrc-build, we should go up to build deb and then the name of that KDE Git repository. Okay, but for that to work, we need to do this prerequisite. So let's first look at the /etc/up/sources list file. So it just contains deb lines, and we also need to add deb src lines. How do we do that? I know. I don't want to enable because there's nothing to enable. I want to add lines. Software sources, yeah, what is that thing? There's no such thing. So there's a deb src for neon. So we need to add them in here. I don't know what's the syntax. Let's find out. Debian /out sources list deb src. It's just the same thing, it just does have a deb -src in front. Hopefully. So let's do that. Ctrl X C. F10, I need to be a super user. So /etc/apt/sources list Ctrl K, Ctrl Y, Ctrl Y, Ctrl K, Ctrl Y, Ctrl Y, Ctrl K, Ctrl Y, Ctrl Y, and the trailing new line. Ctrl X has to save. And now let's put a -src in here. Okay. -src in here. Ctrl X has to save, exit to exit, and apt update. Okay. So now we have these prerequisites done. Let's see what's next. So we want to build all of the KDE frameworks version 5 on KDE Neon. Ctrl-Shift-V, go. It installs a million of packages. Many of them have a -dev at the end, such as libx kb common -x11 -dev. So -dev at the end, -dev at the end, -dev at the end, -dev at the end. -dev at the end, etc. So we install deb packages from the Linux distribution, which is in this case KDE Neon, and many of these deb packages have a name that ends in -dev. So the name of the package is something -dev.deb. Okay. Preparing to unpack. The packages were all downloaded and now one by one they are being installed. So that's why we need beefy development machines for KDE, because we need to install thousands of packages from the Linux distribution. So we need space there. Then we need to build all of the KDE frameworks, which is 80 KDE Git repositories. And that's just a start. You have 0 applications after you build all of the KDE Git repositories for KDE frameworks version 5. Then you'll need to build additional repositories. And how I do it is I usually build all of the KDE Git repositories using kdesrc-build. And this is such that I know that my machine is completely set up. If a module fails to build using kdesrc-build, I can investigate or ask or fix the issue. And then after I finish building everything, I will have in the ~kd/src directory a ton of source code from the KDE community. So this makes it easy for me to search, so to grep, to see how a certain method is used, if a certain technology such as, I don't know, decop is still used or not. Okay, so I can do big searches in the ~kd/src directory, and I do them usually using Visual Studio Code. Okay, so after we finish installing all of the packages needed to build all of the KDE frameworks version 5, we're just going to build all of those frameworks. So kdesrc-build space framework will be the command line. If you want to build even more, such as Plasma, we'll need to also run this command line to install more deb packages. Okay. So we will not build any application, we will just try to build all of the frameworks. Okay, so we've installed all of the packages. Quality of life improvement for me would be to install the file manager that I use, which is Crusader. I don't use Dolphin. I'll remove this useless icon. Firefox needs to be pinned at the first position. I don't need Dolphin, I don't use it. Let's configure Crusader. Welcome. Looks okay. Looks okay. Okay, defaults. So compact. View. Smaller fonts. Smallest sizes possible. Apply. No colors. viewer. As editor, I'm going to use Kate if possible. Okay. Apply. Dependencies, user actions, protocols, so looks okay, close. Okay, let's remove the craft, the useless Chrome, and leave more space for the content. So toolbars, nothing. So I need to click and then move the mouse for the menu to appear. Settings and then move. No status bar, no function keys. Embedded terminal, yes. Can we remove something extra? No, we can't. Okay, so that's it. I'll have Crusader pinned on the second position. Okay, that's it. That's it. So let's start building. kdesrc-build frameworks. While this thing is going, let's look at the configuration file. Ctrl-Shift-T, kate-/.config kdesrc-build rc. Okay, so the defaults include dependencies true. Let's stop the build because the defaults are wrong. Include dependencies true, okay. KD, dir, source, dir, build, dir, correct. This thing needs to be debugged. Okay. This thing needs to be 15. This thing needs to be 12. And stop on failure should be true directly, so we keep the rest. We did just change the number of CPU cores, and the CMake build configuration should be debugged. Ctrl S, and now I remember that the virtual machine is configured incorrectly because it has just one CPU core and should have 15. So let's shut down the machine. Okay, so settings, no floppy. Okay, we keep whatever are the defaults were, and we give it the maximum, the number of CPUs minus 1, so 16 minus 1 is 15. Okay, invalid settings detected where? More virtual CPUs are assigned to the virtual machine than the number of physical CPUs on the host. This is likely to degrade the performance. Please consider no thanks. I will not consider. Let's see some extra settings. So display is the VMware display adapter. This thing, why is it SATA instead of NVMe? Can't it be NVMe? I'm not sure if it's going to boot. Yeah, it can boot. So it needs an extension pack in order to support what? Okay, let's revert that thing. Storage. This thing is, what it was? HCI. Okay, start. Let's maximize the window. Okay, so and CPU. 15 CPUs. Just a second. And proc. Okay, that's the name of the executable. So it's 15. Okay, looks okay. Now we can start doing so kdesrc-build and then frameworks. Okay, back to the configuration file. So correct number of cores, directory layout flat all of the defaults, and change just here, and this is not really important because we're not going to build Qt Web Engine. Okay. So let's see how fast it builds using SATA instead of NVMe. Let's keep improving the settings. Close tab or middle click, yes, of course. Tabs above. And that other thing. New. Underline files. And the text editor is keyed. Okay, enough settings. Let's make this thing default. Okay. So we have the text editor, which is keyed. We have the file manager, which is Crusader. We have the web browser, which is Firefox from the Mozilla Firefox website. What else do we need? A Qt creator from the Qt framework website. Let's install the Qt creator from the Linux distribution. So Qt creator version 7, mega old. Like, I don't know, 6 months old. Okay. What about Visual Studio Code? Accept deb. Doesn't ask me where to download. I don't like that. Always ask where to download. New tabs. Should be blank. Click and then move. Okay. And F4, so the terminal that's built into the application Dolphin, which is the default file manager in KDE Plasma desktop, has the shortcut F4 to show or hide the built-in terminal. So let's run this thing from here. I need to be super user. Okay, so it has built 21 KDE framework Git repositories out of 80. That's 25%. Okay, so it finished installing Microsoft Visual Studio Code. How does that work? In sourceslist.d, it creates a file which is named vscode.list that was automatically added when I installed this deb package, so code.deb. This is a new deb repository that's added to the list of the repositories known by apt on this virtual machine. So when I go apt update and then apt upgrade, if needed, it will upgrade the version of Visual Studio Code. Okay. 26. Okay, how you run Visual Studio Code for grepping all of the source code from the KDE community that for all the KDE Git repositories that we have built using kdesrc-build. We can go like this. In the directory tilde/kd/src, we just start code dot, which means opening Visual Studio Code, the current directory, which is tilde/kd/src. Trust, yes. What's this? Get started, looks okay. And then we can start searching. You know, we want to search for message box. So we have all of the message box strings. There's search case sensitive, entire whole words, and then there's regular expressions. Regular expressions, for instance, we want to find all of the comment lines. So that would be beginning of line, no matter how many spaces, and then // So it's going to find millions of results. It stops at 20,000 results. Okay. Why is move there? Doesn't show all of the results, shows just the first 20,000 results. Okay. Or we want all of the Q-Latin1 strings. I don't know how to copy things. Control C, Control A, Control V. And I can navigate through all of the results using the keyboard key F4. Similar to what I do on Visual Studio in Windows. Okay, so we'll be back in a second. Okay, so Visual Studio Code says, do you want to install the recommended extensions for C++? No. kdesrc-build frameworks failed. K-file metadata could not build. I have this log file. So it's a not a CMake configure step issue, but a C++ compilation issue. Let's see what it says. So where's the first error? So the first error is after 100%, where it's building user metadata writer test, and it says that there's a thing which is libupimage.so. Upimage extractor. So what is upimage? Upimage, this thing is making K-file metadata not built. Why is libupimage installed? The package list grep upimage. It's just a library with no users. From Neon. Let's see what it happens if we remove them. Neon desktop depends on KIO extras. So Neon desktop depends on libupimage. For what? libkf5 file metadata bin. I don't know, can't we just rename those or something? So there's .a files, there's .so files, there's versions of SO. There's SO1, SO, SO0, and SO1. So 0 is 0.1.10 and 1 is 1.0.3. Let's see if we can remove all of these. Let's search the internet first. Which version of GCC? Yes. So GCC 11 and GCC 12. G++ 11. No, I have no clue what to do. Okay, so now there's only libapimage.so.0 available. Let's see if this is enough. Compiling failed. So src log latest k file f4 cannot find libapp image. Okay, I'll be back in a second. Okay, so I managed to do it. So kfile metadata, because it had found, where are you? Because it found libapp image dev, it tried to also support libapp image, or such that in Dolphin, the KDE Plasma file manager, the applications which have the extension appimage have the correct icon, and if you go right-click properties on a .appimage file, then it shows pertinent information for the file format appimage. So what I did is, out of the 3 appimage deb packages that existed on my machine, I uninstalled just the -dev one, because that contains the package config cmake.h files, and then I ran the kfile metadata cmake configure step again. So that was kdesrc-build frameworks, resume from kfile metadata, so don't build any other KDE Git repository before kfile metadata, start with kfile metadata. And then I went refresh build, which means get the latest source code from git master, then run configure cmake again, run make compile again, run make install again. Okay, so the error was that, I know, maybe libapp image was built with C-Lang's C++ standard library or something. I don't know exactly what the problem is, but since just this file libappimage.so and its siblings are affected, then the simplest way for me to solve the issue is just make sure cmake doesn't find the libapp image. So I did that by uninstalling the libapp image -dev.deb package. Okay, so Bluesy cute, 6 out of 33. I'll be back. Okay, so kdesrc-build frameworks has finished successfully. All of the KDE frameworks were built correctly. This is it. This is it for our today's screen recording. And next, if you want to continue, the next things to do would be to build applications. So most of the KDE Git repositories that are of type application, the way we build them using kdesrc-build is kdesrc-build builds most of the KDE frameworks. And then as the last KDE Git repository to be built is that application. And such a simple application would be the KDE calculator, which is this application. Kcalc. Not really. What's this? Calculator 1. I don't know what this thing is. So Kcalc should have all of the KDE frameworks pre-built. So it will write kdesrc-build will see that Kcalc depends on most of the KDE frameworks version 5. It will try to make sure that the KDE frameworks are up to date. So we have the correct the correct source code from the Git master branch. The step cmake configure was run successfully for all of the Git repositories. The same for the step make compile and make install. And after it finishes with all of the KDE frameworks, 25, which might be needed by Kcalc. So KDE frameworks are 80, but just 25 were built for this application Kcalc. So all of the KDE Git repositories that were built are part of the framework and their dependencies. Okay. And then the very last one is the actual application that we wanted to build, which is Kcalc. And now we have, for instance, kdesrc run available. We have the possibility of running the newly compiled Kcalc using kdesrc-build using kdesrc-run. So kdesrc-run space Kcalc. And it says frameworks version 5.102. So this is the version of KDE frameworks that was built, the 80 KDE Git repositories that were built in the previous step, where we went kdesrc-build space frameworks. Okay. So this is it. Thank you.